right, it is 2 minutes past the hour, so welcome everybody who made it. Welcome to Data+Women Germany. Good day, good morning, good evening, wherever you're dialing in from. Again, I'm dialing in from London, even though this is Data+Women Germany. Virtual environment makes it possible. Before we get started, just a few words about what Data+Women Germany actually is, in case anyone of you is dialing in for the first time or hasn't been here for a while. So Data+Women is part of the global Data+Women network. We're the German chapter. That's myself, Heidi Kalber, and my colleague Julia Büchting. I work as an associate solution expert at Woodmark, and I started Data+Women Germany pretty much 5 years ago to the day, so it's been a while. And Julia joined me a couple of years ago. She's a senior consultant at Deloitte. She will not be here today, but you will definitely be seeing her at future events. So we started Data+Women Germany, or we lead Data+Women Germany together to provide an opportunity to learn and network all around in the area of data analytics, to share knowledge and experiences, and to unite people of any gender to promote diversity in the data community. But our aim, as the name suggests, is to elevate and to promote women speakers. So all our speakers will usually be female, or at least not cis male. All right, but we do invite everybody to have this conversation about diversity, to engage in this community, because Emily said it best a couple of years ago. It's data plus women. It's not data minus men. So everybody on this call is very much welcome to be here today. What do we have in store for you? So I started a new series, which was an idea that came into my head about a day in the life of. So the idea is to introduce you to different jobs in the data industry, because, if you're looking for a job or a career change, and there's just so many different titles and positions out there, and trying to understand what actually entails what actions or abilities or characteristics can be a bit daunting if you're just starting out or looking for a change. So we want to introduce you to different data industry professionals and just get a glimpse into a day of their life. So I'm very happy to have Marine Ried with us today. Marine is a data analyst / engineer at European Dental Group. So welcome, Marine.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. All right, how do I stop? Not stop recording. Did I stop displaying stuff?
You
Am I
did.
still sharing? Okay, sorry. I hate working on one monitor. All right, well, thank you for being with us today. Let's get started. What is your current job title? I know I just called it, but
As you just said, exactly. It's data analyst / engineer. And I think the slash indicates that I definitely do stuff which is usually solely being done by by a person for their own title, but it always depends on what kind of company you're in. And sometimes you could even add / scientist, because it really depends then on the quality of the data and how big your company is. Because if you decide, that's definitely, if we're talking about this scope that you think of changing your career or anything, it really depends on what you want. Because if you want to be in a small company, you will have a very diverse opportunity to work in this field, whilst when you're in a very big company where you have a very clear assigned role, potentially you'd be deciding for either or.
Okay. Sounds super interesting and very nuanced, but let's maybe take a couple steps back. So let's say you meet somebody new who's a complete layperson in the data industry, so they don't know anything about titles or whatever. And how do you explain what you do to a stranger who doesn't know the field?
Well, usually I'd start asking about their experience, because usually people can imagine anything. For example, if they're going shopping, they can imagine that there is a stack of I don't know, like cereals. And if you take one of those cereals out, then the number in any kind of spreadsheet, when you can imagine, will decrease by 1. And people get an experience of, okay, it's basically tables, but in a bigger scale, you can think of, yeah, getting knowledge out of this data and displaying it to people who are in charge, or maybe think, okay, this kind of cereals, people just don't buy it, we shouldn't keep it. So you can adjust and really use this for your day-to-day life, and that's potentially something where people could nod and say, oh, okay, yeah, I can relate, or I can imagine something under this, yeah, for this explanation.
Okay, but you're not. Well, it's a good metaphor, definitely, but you're probably not counting cereal in your day-to-day work. So
Yeah, no,
I'd,
no,
I'd,
no.
I'd probably keep this as like the data analyst part, but where do you draw the distinction from analyst to engineer to scientist?
Well, it actually goes fluently hand in hand, because usually what comes up in any kind of job is that there is a problem. Something is not running smoothly. Some things are left unanswered, and people usually come to me and say, "Hey, I would like to know how many people left the company last month, or during COVID, how many people are sick." You know, you're having all those numbers from HR. You're having any financial data. And sometimes I'm also responsible for setting up a database, you know, to think of how could I structure a table or even many tables in relation to each other to make them run smoothly. And then, for example, I also sometimes get a task of, okay, please automate stuff. This should run every 24 hours or every month. Or you could imagine that as a data engineer, you'd be mostly, or yeah, thinking of a bigger picture of scaling stuff, for example, or scaling data, or setting them up properly. And, or for example, talking to, or not really sure about the English. How do you like you an API? You know, when you go into this interface and you'd actually like to get some information from the raw states, that's definitely a difference to a data analysis where you already have the data, where you just visualize them, in comparison to, okay, I get a nice GUI, like a nice script, for example, data fabric or anything like that, where you actually can script in Python or in R, where you think of, okay, I have this data, what kind of bigger conclusions could I draw from them, or even interfere anything, where you can think of any kind of models that you can set up on that data. So there is a different perspective depending on what kind of person I'd like to help.
Okay, so let's say I'm looking to get into the field and I'm standing before job descriptions of analyst, engineer, scientist. Which part of what you just described of your work would go with which?
Potentially your skill set. All right, so you should really think about, okay, what would you like to do? Because you potentially all know Tableau, right? You know this visualization tool, or people know, you know, all, most of them, I guess everybody who's here know Excel, or have ever heard of Microsoft, or any kind of sort of software languages. So if you're keen, if you'd like to, like, I generally please everybody say you can learn anything, everything. Yeah, just if you want to learn something, you can do it, like no matter how, like there's so much knowledge in YouTube or whatever, it's for free. Like if you really want to do it, you can. There's SQL courses, there's Python courses for free, like I promise anything. And I think that's what you have to decide on. Do you want to look at script, like really think about how to, like, object driven, if you want to learn that, then you potentially could go into this rather data engineering part. But if you think like, hey, this is beautiful and you can be so creative with Tableau, maybe a data analyst job would be more suiting. Or you really think of sometimes, or like, I don't know, you can think big. You say, okay, I want to research cancer and I want to dig into this medical field, then maybe you'd like to go into the data science direction, where you can think of, you know, rather taking a, let's say, medical approach to data.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. By the way, I'm asking all the questions that come into my head, but if anyone on the call today has their own questions to Marine, please feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll get to them. Okay, so you talked about all the different, let's say, disciplines your job encompasses, but how did you get here? Like, how did you end up in this position?
I can be honest with you guys, it's because of Heidi, yeah? Heidi was the person I met when I came out of my master's degree. And then I met her and she got me hooked. I gotta be honest with you. And she's basically one reason why I'm sitting here today, because she taught me in also, funnily enough, there's Helmut Dahl in Discord. Helmut, hello there. We were all at the same company and started out. Can I say that? I don't know. Yeah, right? Yeah. Everybody knows Heidi, that she went to the information lab. And I met her there. Um, yeah, like being a sponge, training all the knowledge from her. And basically, that's why I'm ending up at that company, because they were a customer. But if you're asking about how did I even get into this direction, I can be honest with you, it doesn't matter. Like, if you want to do this, you can apply. Like, there's always a way. You can always change, because I'm a psychologist, right? So I got a bachelor, I got a master's, and still ending up with data, being on the computer all day, and I love it. So I'm really, trying to get this message across, that if you really want to learn something, you can do anything, and yeah, no matter from which direction you come, even without a degree, right?
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so you mentioned a couple times that hard skills can be learned, like
Yeah,
technology, etc. That's
yeah.
all doable. I absolutely agree there. But what would you say are some, I don't want to say soft skills, I don't like the word soft skills, but what are maybe some like characteristics that a person should have? Like, um, what should their mentality be like to approach a job in the field like this?
Excuse me, I'm the worst at multitasking, and I was reading the question that just came in. This, but I had soft skills. Um,
Yeah, essentially.
excuse me. Yeah, you see that? Like, I really learned that if you really focus on one thing and then you do it properly, it most of the time will get better than when trying to focus on two things. So excuse me, Heidi. Soft skills. That is a very difficult question, because I can be honest with you. COVID was a blessing for me, when we stopped having go to office, when I was able to stay in the office to retain my social batteries. But for you guys, potentially would be different, right? So I think, it's very difficult question, because I can only tell you about my personal experience. And Heidi, we've been talking about this. Like, Heidi's on the move for I don't know how many days in a week. That would be a scenario for me which is undoable. Like, I know that now. I was naive back in the days, when I thought I could do this. But now I know, like, I really like the home office skills, and I like, because I have a small social battery, but still, of course, good communication skills is important, right? Like, if you can't do this, potentially you can go even more into IT, I don't know, or something where you, I don't know, don't have to interact with people, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so let's get to the questions in the chat. Salome will do your second, because Zoe is actually, I feel like, fits a bit better into the conversation right now. So Zoe is asking, how does a data scientist differ from more of a data analyst role? Like, where's the distinction between those two roles specifically?
So, first of all, if you're working as a data scientist, you already have data provided for you. Yeah, I mean, in rare cases, you have to do something about them, but usually you get a bunch of data. For example, an aunt of mine, she is working for, damn, I don't know the English word, but basically for the government. And so she has access to a vast amount of data, or for example, like insurance data or something like that. So you have a big loads of data, and then your task is to retrieve data and to potentially make predictions for the future. For example, like to give you a real life example, what we do here is to predict seasonal patterns, because I work for like medical data, and somehow, people want to get their teeth nicely for Christmas. So in December, it's like always crazy. And after, January is going down because, and then, in February it's going up again, because we always say it's about like caries.
Uh,
I mean,
Cavities, I think.
I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe potentially you get it, when you have like stuff getting into your teeth because you ate too much sugar. Um, but yeah, so that's potentially the biggest distinction, that you don't have to do anything about the data. And as a scientist, you definitely have to know all those statistics, like structural equation analysis, like random forests, like all those different approaches, like cluster analysis, to approach data to see if there is anything inside which gives you further knowledge. And that's definitely something you don't do as a data analyst, because you sort of report what is already there and you don't interfere. Yeah.
So would you say data analyst is more like past and present focused, and scientist is more like future
Yeah,
focused?
you could
Like
definitely go
as
into this direction. Sure,
okay,
sure. Yeah, yeah.
cool. And then Salome's question was regarding the distinction between analyst and engineering. So, say somebody works as a data analyst but is looking to get more towards engineering. What are some like courses or certifications you would recommend to make the transition?
Definitely get a SQL course. That'll help you. Get a SQL course, potentially even, like cloud services, like, or anything like cloud, or like Amazon Cloud, but also Azure, everything which is, rather focusing on a database side, where you really think of, I don't know, like Snowflake. You get into that topics on how to handle big loads of data. That is rather how you get into the data engineering side, because you rather focus on the how to set things up for people to further use it in the future. Like, for example, a data analyst. They would just retrieve it and say, oh, thank you for the grapes. And you'd be actually trying to sort of how to plant the trees in order to make them grow properly, if I'm taking this as a, yeah, analogy.
Yeah. Okay, and then Helmut had an interesting question. So when I asked about how did you get here, you mentioned people can essentially come from anywhere into the data industry. But let's say you've been in the data industry for a while now, you have your expertise. What kind of paths are open to you then? Like, where could you go further? And do you specifically have something where you see yourself, like, passion wise, let's say 2, 5, 20 years down the road, where you want to go with your data expertise?
So there was a lot of questions.
Sorry.
um, okay, so I start first. Of course, I would always recommend choose something which you like. If you like soccer or any kind of football or whatever it is, try to sort of find a job which is, handling, ideas over there. If you really, if like for me, I'm in the medical data, and I somehow, like I really like it. So potentially I could, see myself further going down that road. Or my sister has been into the automotive industry for about the past 15 years. So somehow, it develops into that direction. And I think that helps. But still, if you're having the right motivation and you're smart, you can potentially also get into another direction, of course. But for me, it was really about the people. Another advice from myself for working like in this industry for 5 years, if you don't have nice colleagues, but potentially this is the same for every job, I left my old job, or Heidi and Helmut, yes, because the customer that I had with the information lab, Fleming, they were just the sweetest people. They were just nice. It was just fun. They were just so funny. And for me, like the good sense of humor is just very important, but you guys have to decide for yourself which values are important. But I knew, okay, if your gut feeling says yes, then it's a yes. And I didn't even plan on ending up there. But that's just, life giving you gifts, and it depends if you see them, if you take them, if that's
Yeah.
good enough.
Yeah, I love that, which leads me to one of my questions, actually. Let's say somebody wants to get into the data analyst, data engineer, data science field. Um, what would you say? What can people do today or this week or this month to move closer to such a position?
Of course, depending where you're starting from, but imagine you're really starting from scratch. You sort of don't know anything. Then open up YouTube. I know it sounds stupid, but I met like guy in a cube this year in Stockholm at a conference, and I said, "You guys are the reason why I'm standing here." Because it's really about YouTube. And if you start searching how to become a, then you'll get a bunch of results. And then I'd be giving you the advice, take a piece of paper, write down different stuff, um, write stuff down that you sort of need to know. Because if you search for like job applications, you always see, like, you can start from job applications. You see, okay, I want to do this job. Then you go there and you write down all those points which are on that list, and you try to sort of tick them all, or at least get a grip of it. Because everything, like especially data wise, you can always download Tableau and try it for free. You can download Power BI. You can download Nime, like Alteryx, like the open source analogy is Nime, with a K, however. Or so there are different opportunities to try to get into this direction. Like if you really want to do it, it's just a click away. And even if you're like searching any SQL terms or whatever, most of the time when you just think, this pop-up comes up, stop, you want to have a SQL course for free or anything like that. So like this just happened to me like 5 minutes ago because I was searching how to best describe it. And then, like those courses come really up. And I tell you how it is. My company, they didn't even saw a degree. Like I just told them, yeah, I made a degree, but it doesn't matter. If they see that you can do the job, that's sort of all you need to prove. So that'll be my advice.
Absolutely, yeah. And then we had an interesting question regarding AI. So, did you notice that your daily work is impacted by the advances of AI?
Oh my God, AI. It's like I was just in Stockholm. There was like this Microsoft conference, and there were all AI was all over the place. And I see it a little bit critical. Like, of course, I love ChatGPT. And if you have like a little code snippet and it's not working, and you ask them, hey, why it's not working, and they really provide you an answer which you can work with. I love that. That's genius. But still, if you really don't get what the code snippet is doing, you're potentially having a problem anyways. So in terms of ETL, like I don't know how, like extract, transform, and load, it can be very beneficial if you're just scripting, right? If you're using any kind of Alteryx, Nime related tools, or even in Microsoft Fabric, like there's all sorts of, drag and drop, and therefore it's not that relevant. But yeah, of course. If you're just talking about R or Python or whatever PHP scripts, like AI is really beneficial. I don't want to lie. But at the same time, if you can't put it together, like you still need that bottom line of coding knowledge. But that is definitely learnable. However, at the end of the day, you'll always have to defend what you did. And if you're using anything and then somebody comes up to you and asks you how you did it or why is that number there, it is you who still have to answer. But of course, I totally agree with you. For example, in Alteryx, you can also do some sort of machine learning stuff, and you can just drag and drop and do anything, and it computes, and you actually have no idea what you're doing. Like I also don't like that. I got to be honest with you, because then you fully lose this, like, what is actually I just know I have to check the out of error bag, like the error rate from the out of, yeah, whatever you see, I'm rambling myself. So that is of course the question, but still, if you can sell it to your boss, who cares? I don't know. that that'll be my opinion.
Yeah, which I guess brings us back to hard skills versus like the curiosity and the mindset, etc., that you need to bring to the position, right? Like if
Yeah.
you understand in your mind what the end result should be like and how like and the steps to get there, it doesn't matter that you can actually implement the steps because that's what AI can probably assist you with. Um, Yeah. Okay. One last question. So Leah is asking, you know, both sides, like consultancy and working for like a customer or in company. How does the job differ between the two worlds? Like, how
I,
does your work? Yeah.
I tell you the truth, I love it because my way was just perfect. Like I came into this world, like I don't know how many hours I worked, but definitely more than 40, you know? And it was the start of my job career, so I didn't earn too well, you know, but it was fully all right, even for Hamburg. And but then when I changed to the customer, I said I only work 4 days a week. I will stay in Berlin. I will only work home office. So you have just so much more leverage to actually what you want to do. But that's just me personally, you know, because if you, for example, you like to be on the road like Heidi, goddamn, that, you know, consultancy side might be much better. And then it's even better paid. You know, like you have to find out for yourself what you want. Because I know I sort of I love my life here in Berlin. Like I love that freedom. I just love it. But you know, it wouldn't be the perfect thing for Heidi to have my job. So I can personally definitely say consultancy is more stress. Like you have to really deliver on time and like having also feeling the pressure of a lot of money weighing on you or giving trainings or anything. In comparison to the service side where it's just a little bit more laid back. If you want to know something, that even takes time for to find the right person to, you know, get the information from. So I still kept that, like it depends on what you want. And yeah, with I see time is running out. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me and
Yeah. Thank
listening
you.
to what I gotta say.
Yeah, thank you for that like glimpse into your world. So if anyone's interested in hearing more from Marine, LinkedIn is probably the best way to reach out to you.
Yes, indeed.
So do that. If you have more questions about consultancy, feel free to catch me up.
Yes.
And also, we do have upcoming events for just 1 second. So this time in 2 weeks, so November 21st, we are talking to Diliana Bossens about her work as a data and AI literacy trainer. So if you're interested in that, do sign up. Also, if you do sign up, you'll get email notifications about future events. So if you have a job position you are interested in, or you want to talk about your specific job position, please let me know, and I'm happy to host you at one of our future events. With that being said, thank you so much, Marie.
Thank you
It was
very
a
much for
joy
having me. It was
talking to
great
you.
fun.
Yeah,
Goodbye. Have a great week.
thank you, everybody. See you at future events. Bye.
Bye.